Hello, amigos. This is Nick Penev, the co-founder of Extreme Power Brand Scale and the partnership advisor for over 30 companies in the e-commerce space. Today, we have a very interesting topic because everybody has been bitching about the new Amazon fees, and I have two badass Amazon peeps who is gonna tell you know what you need to know about those fees and what you can do about them. So let me give you more information about the show today. So as usually know, we call it the networking on steroid show because we network, we find cool guys, and we do stuff with them. So the title is Amazon Wizards sharing best tips on how to dodge the new Amazon fees. Of course, I'm not sure if you can dodge that, but there's always a thing that you can do better than the other guys. So our guests there are Jamie Powers, the co-founder of SkillDrop, and Mark Botta, the co-founder and CEO of Seller Value. So all those guys, they do profitability. This is their game. So they're gonna talk more about how to master the maze, exploring your options with the new inventory replacement fees. This is what Jamie is gonna talk about, and thriving beyond Amazon 2024 fees shakedown. Strategies for success. All this from Mark Botta. So let me play a 1 minute video of ours to scale because that's how we get in touch with people. That's how we used to grow our company, just spending zero. We don't spend any money on marketing. We use our connections to grow your network. So see how I can do that for your own company, just for yourself. And if you like it, check it out. The software has a free version. Of course, there's a paid version. We need to eat. So check it out, guys.
Meet Scale, the tool that streamlines proactive referrals and facilitates meaningful introductions. With Scale, you can easily exchange intros to expand your network and boost your business growth. Step 1. Sign up for free. You can conveniently sign up for Scale.com using your Gmail account. Step 2. Create your page. To create your Scale page, choose a unique handle, like this, https://app.scale.com, Nick Penev. Add your name, company, position, and a brief introduction. Step 3. Upload your contacts. You can easily upload your contacts, including partners, clients, or missed opportunities, and share their names, companies, positions, and also their LinkedIn profiles. Step 4. Request introductions. With at least 10 contacts, you're ready for Scale matchmaking, connecting you with users who share your ideal customer profile, ICP, for introduction swaps and referrals. Sign up today and try Scale for free.
Okay, that's it, amigos. We have a new feature, but we're gonna tell you for that in the next episode when we're gonna show the new feature, which is called the Scale Navigator. Now, let's talk about the Amazon fees because everybody hates to pay fees. Who likes to pay that? Everybody like to make more money. So let me bring our guests to the stage today, and they can introduce themselves. Hey, Jamie. Hey, Mark. Mark.
Hi.
Thanks for waking up, guys. Mark woke up at 4 a.m. He's in the Cayman, so you better wake up or just leave what you're doing and listen to those guys because they have a lot to share. So thanks again, guys. Introduce yourself because I know some stuff, but I don't know everything for you. Otherwise, it would be suspicious. So tell us what you guys do, and then tell us more about the topic today.
Jamie,
all yours, Mark.
me?
You go for it.
Hi, Mark Rother, Seller View. We help sellers, be more profitable by understanding their supply chain and their costs in their supply chain. So we really help sellers nail down their margins by understanding what suppliers are costing, what freight is costing. Can we get better freight? Are we getting better? Are we getting charged the right customs fees so that we can be more profitable and at the same time mitigate some of the new Amazon fees?
That's awesome. I must admit, like Mark and myself, we just introduced ourselves here, Nick, for the first time, but I'm sure we'll be talking again after this call. I never knew about SellerView, so there you go. Awesome service. My name's Jamie, co-founder of SkewDrop, also co-founder of Southern Seller Fest, the only Amazon conference in the Southern Hemisphere in Australia. SkewDrop, in a nutshell, is a consolidation facility, prep center in China. We have a facility in Yiwu, China, where we can consolidate, prep, receive goods from suppliers, and then give our sellers and our customers options of what they can do from China. It gives them a little bit, we think that it gives them a little bit more options, especially now since March the 1st, on what they can do with the inventory, whether they can go direct, whether they can go to AWD, whether they go to 3PLs. But keeping stock in China And what our model is, our software, our warehouse management system integrates with Seller Central. So you can create shipping plans from our software. You can manage your inventory from our software. We're only in China at the moment, so that's one of the things that you have to be considerate of if you wanted to use our services. And yeah, we're servicing now over 800 clients, 800 brands under one roof in the facility in Iwu. It's growing and growing, and it's an exciting business to be part of. And since March the 1st, with these changes, it's and this whole AGL AWD thing, it's kind of played into our hands in this conversation. And I'm sure Mark's got his thoughts on it as well. But
yeah, that's awesome.
It's an interesting space to be in at the moment.
Okay, guys. So tell us more about your topics, because obviously all the sellers are getting crazy about the Amazon fees. Even Amazon said they're gonna start doing that from May. I think they said that they're not gonna do it in April. So it's still not in effect, right? I mean, people are still being charged the old fees. So tell what you guys know, because you deal with those sellers all the time. Know what they assume, which is not true, and what is true. Just give them some tips, because the idea is for everybody in the space is to make more money. Sometimes people don't make money because they're not educated enough. So that's why we do the series today. Just tell us from your experience. What they should know, etc.
Yeah, okay. I'm happy to go first. I guess from our point of view, I probably don't need to explain what the fees are. I think by now, middle of April, most of the people watching this show will understand what these inventory placement fees are, low inventory fees are. If you don't, and you're just getting into the game, be very mindful when you're working out your COGS and all that sort of stuff with your products now, because these fees have been introduced. But for the first time, in essence, a 50,000-foot overview is Amazon are now having sellers being charged for FC transfer, in essence. Prior to March 1st, we could send goods around the corner from our 3PL. Standard products would go in, oversized products. These sellers are probably a little bit more used to being split up if they're not using AGL from China direct. And now Amazon have said, hey, guys, enough's enough. This is a big supply chain. It's sophisticated. We're going to pass a little bit of this back onto you guys. And now we're faced with these options of optimized shipments where we don't get charged fees, but shipping costs go up. Partial shipments where we're getting a little bit of fee and we're getting split up, but at least for the first time, we've got the option now for West Coast, Central, and East. We've never had that before. I thought that was a positive out of anything that we could see, that they're at least giving us jurisdiction control. So that's cool. And then the last one, minimal shipment splits where they're paying full fee, but they're going to one fulfillment center. For me, to educate everyone here, and Mark might have similar thoughts, it's all about density of units inside cartons. So to work out your fees and what's best and how to get around this, the sum has to be tested for you and your individual products based on your master cartons and how many units are inside it, because it's a per unit fee. So if you've got high density cartons where there's 100 units or 150 in a case pack, you're going to have different results than someone that has 2 or 3 or 4 units in a master carton, and those options that you face. So it's not a one shoe fits all approach. And I speak to sellers every day. Some have got portfolios where they do have oversized products and they do have standard size products, and they're used to creating shipments together from China or from their 3PL, and now they're faced with these equations that just don't make sense. What I recommend doing is seeing if you can break your portfolio up. This is one step. This is one thing that we've done with our testing, is at least break your portfolio up into high density and low density cartons. At least then you can see what testing is consistent around which fee option you're going to choose. That's if you're going to pay fees, okay? That's one part of the conversation. Then we've got the elephant in the room that I guess we're going to talk about at some point in time, which is AWD. And guys, chime in whenever you feel. But AWD is throwing a big carrot in front of sellers, and I've got mixed thoughts about AWD. Other people I talk to have got mixed thoughts about AWD. Handing over the keys to your supply chain from the US side to Amazon may not be a favorable thing on everyone's lips that I'm talking to. Yes, they might want to try it out, but I don't think they've got full confidence to hand everything over to Amazon, where if something happens, you got no support. I'm hearing people they've got lost product, or they can't, they're raising case logs with people and booking in. And I'm sure that because of this offer that Amazon are doing, AWD is going to get quite inundated. And I don't know what that looks like, but I've been in Amazon space for a long time, and I just feel like this thing could go either way. So I always tell people to tread carefully with that. I know there's limits that you can also send into AWD, and the way you get products in determines the rate that you pay in AWD. Most cases, unless you're shipping with AGL and you're paying AWD's best rate, which is not their best rate, it's their integrated rates, their better rate when you ship with their services. The best rate is often got a lot of baked in fees that you think you're not paying the IPF, the inventory placement fees. But if you have a look at the rates of what your established relationships are with 3PLs compared to what you're having at the moment, I'm not sure that you're not paying inventory placement fees with some of the rates that they're charging. So there's all these things. And before I pass it over to Mark and to you guys, I will say that the very interesting thing from Skewdrop's side of things is, we obviously have a facility in China where sellers can store, and I feel like we've got a little bit more breathing space to be able to analyze what to do with some of their freight. AGL has to be talked about, whether or not you like it or not, whether or not you've used it or not. It has to be in the conversations now. It really does, because whether you're going direct to Amazon with their AMP program, just to break it down for you guys, AGL have 3 costs, 3 different pricing structures. They've got their AMP program, which is Amazon Management Placement. They've got their minimal shipment split costs, which are a very cheap shipping cost, but fees are on top of this. And then they have their costs to go from China direct into AWD. So they're the 3 costs. They send them to you each month. The shipping cost from China to AWD, I haven't seen shipping costs for LCL at that rate ever in my life, and I'm in the shipping space. So they are throwing some real big, dangling some real big enticing carrots in front of everyone to say, hey, use our services. I don't know what that's going to look like too, and the pressure it's going to put on AGL as well. But I have to say it has to be talked about because these rates are incredible. Now, the thing is with AGL, you can only use it from China. That's it. End of story. You can only use AGL from China. So our business and Skewdrop has blown up a bit because they can now have a look at the 3 options, and they've got choices from China, from our warehouse. We can pick, label, load, and it's out the door, whether they're going direct to Amazon, whether they want to go to a 3PL, or whether they want to go to AWD. We can feed the 3 options. But you always have to do a comparison depending on density of your products. And I don't want to get too technical because I'll lose people, but you really have to know this stuff. How many units are in your carton is going to determine which way you ship and who you ship with. Last thing, pass it over to Mark, DDP. I know there's so many sellers that are probably going to watch this that do DDP shipping, and I'm not here to say whether to do it or don't do it. And there's definite benefits that people can see from doing that, whether it's right or wrong, grey hat, black hat, white hat, I don't care. You do your thing. You guys need to be able to sleep at night, whether or not, you're declaring or not declaring or what you're doing. It's your business. Been there and done that. So now people that do DDP that are saving on tariffs have got inventory placement fees all of a sudden, and their channel into the US is only through DDP. Otherwise, all of a sudden, tariffs are more than inventory placement fees. So now they're faced with this thing, well, I want to keep doing DDP, but now I'm going to a US 3PL. What am I doing from here? I'm copping all these fees. What's more? Do I start declaring and doing everything properly, or do I continue to pay fees from my US 3PL? I don't have a silver bullet for it. What I will say is I feel like our business gives people options. Skewdrop, whether or not you want to use it or not, that's totally fine. And this is not a pitch for Skewdrop. It's just true. I've been in the game for long enough to know that if I keep my products in China, I've got options. I don't have to order as much. People in our business are getting the same amount of sales, holding 50% less stock. So cash flows increase massively with our customers because their order frequency from their suppliers changes. They order the same amount, but instead of ordering 3-4 months and sitting on that cash over in the US, once a month is ready, they can get that release from their supplier into our warehouse and then drip feed it in as they see. So they change their supply chain tactic from releasing goods earlier from their suppliers into our facility, then into Amazon, and they're not having to tie up 3-4 months worth of cash in the business sitting in a 3PL in the US or even AWD. So it's an interesting perspective. Again, there's not a right or wrong answer. I think there's a hybrid for this. There's different angles now. People need to look at different angles. You really need to know what you're doing and implement a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of this, especially for slow-moving stock and portfolios that don't move well. It's a whole different ballgame. I've had so many conversations with sellers over the last few months with our business and so many calls since March the 1st. It's been incredible to learn about how people are trying to adapt with this. The software, I'll just say this, the software manipulation that's going on, we all know about it. We had the shot fired across our bows from Amazon last week or the week before, saying that they think that they're still going to charge us. Well, today's April 16. I don't know if anyone's reported anything in any of the forums or any of the groups that anyone who abandoned shipments and was using software to manipulate shipping plans, if they're being charged or not. I don't know. Amazon know about it. It's obvious now. They're working on, cutting that out of their API. There's people doing workarounds. I don't know. It's an interesting time to be an Amazon seller and a service provider in this space.
Okay, Jamie, one question. Sorry, Mark, I just have one question. Why did they decide to be China only? I mean, what if your supplier is in Vietnam and like India? No, because there is other markets, of course. Nobody is as big as China, but why only China is the location?
Well, they bought their own ships and they converted oil rigs into freighters and shipping lines and bought their own containers, and they've got their own lines, AGL. They probably went where the demand was. That's just logical decision, I think, from a boardroom perspective. And they've said we're just going to service the China to US lanes only at the moment. I don't think that they might not get the return for coming from India or coming from Vietnam or Taiwan or wherever else. I think an interesting thing is here, 3-4 years ago, whenever it was, when the Trump tariff came in, and we all started paying tariffs, that was hit number one for sellers, right? A lot of people exited stage left because they had no margin. All of a sudden, they're paying 25% tariffs. It was like that wiped a lot of people out. Now this new inventory placement fee and low inventory placement fee feels like it's a second layer on that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they just went where the demand was, to answer your question, Nick, and maybe to help counter this tariff thing. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens if Trump gets elected, and he puts the tariffs again? It will have another crazy.
I don't know. I don't know about all that sort of stuff, and it's out of our control. We can only do what we control. And you know what? Inventory placement fees, that's a static thing. Like you can't get around it unless you're shipping from China with AGL and using AMP or minimal shipment splits with AGL, and you can wear the fee and they've got reasonable rates, or you're going to go to AWD, which not everyone wants to do. So there's no way around that. So you've got to get creative. The low inventory placement fee, the low inventory level fee is in our control with better supply chain methods, strategies, tactics. Mm-hmm. The better supply chain will give you control over not having to pay that low inventory placement fee, low inventory level fee. So you have to look at the things that you control and you can't control, and then strategize around that. But yeah, hand it back to Mark. I think he's going to have some good things to say.
Yeah, Jamie, those are all valid points. We always tell Mark, sellers is you got to put these fees in compartments, right? You got to look at the contribution margins of each fee and what you're going to end up with your net margin. There's obviously certain fees you can't get around. Referral fees aren't going anywhere, so that's contribution margin one. Contribution, margin number two is your transactional fees, which in some of these new fees, actually, I think those come down a little bit. So maybe not all doom and gloom with the transactional fees, but maybe making it up somewhere else. But when you're looking at your transactional fees, where can you improve your packaging? using services like yours, making sure that your dimensional weight is smaller, your better packaging, maybe cheaper packaging, and then you got the variable fees, which are these new placement fees, low inventory fees, and really dialing in what you can do to mitigate some of those fees. Using your service, exploring AWD, maybe you want to dip your toe in that. But I think I've been selling on Amazon as well, and I think a lot of it has kind of come full circle. Whether I think Amazon may be trying to dominate the supply chain. We still have a warehouse in the US for our products, which we're actually trying to empty, and I think we might maybe switch to you because we've been looking at things in China. But yeah, so I think when you first started selling, I started selling back in 2012. Everything went from China straight to FBA. There were some products there's some products I never even saw. They just went straight there.
Same.
And then the fees, kind of the inventory fees started changing. So we're okay. Well, let's get a warehouse, and they'll go from China to the warehouse, and the warehouse feed Amazon, and sending things from the warehouse to FBA. I think it was 20 cents a unit. It was absolutely nothing. And now we've got all these new fees where, all right, let's get rid of the warehouse. Let's go back to China, and then let's feed Amazon from China.
Yeah.
So I think as a seller, it's easy to get worked up with the fees. It's you look at all these fees, they get hit with us every couple of years. Is a big rah, and then as it starts evolving, savvy sellers start looking at services like yours and going, okay, well, I'm just gonna adapt. I think the key for Amazon sellers.
Mark, sorry to interrupt you. One question, because said this Amazon fee increase happens every few years. So when was the last time when they had such a heavy increase? Do you guys remember when was the last time? I think
it was 2021.
Yeah.
I think it was just
every couple of years it's going up. It's gone up again in AWD even now.
Yeah.
So when AWD started compared to now, it's gone up since March 1st as well.
Okay. So I have another question. With 2021, 3 years ago, this happened. Amazon has increased a lot, in number of sellers, revenue, and everything. So regardless of the fees, people continue to start selling and they make money. So I guess you just need to adapt. People still make money. Okay, so it's not the end of the world. That's what
it's not a wool crusher. Back to your original point, right? Amazon makes money off sellers like us. So if we get to a point where we aren't making money and we exit, there goes Amazon. So I think is there going to be an attrition? Sure, there's going to be attrition, but it's just understanding the flow of money, where your money is going, and really being smart about it. Which kind of brings to the last point is the fourth contribution margin would be your costs. Really understanding what it's costing you to get your product from China, from the supplier, to where it's going, and adding up all these fees in between, and making sure that your margins are where they should be, and then looking at pricing, being competitive with your pricing, making sure that you're able to possibly increase your pricing if you can, and then just start making better choices between how you're shipping, where you're shipping to, acknowledging the fees, but at the same time, I think it's not the end of the world. I think we're still going to make money. We're all still going to be, I wouldn't say all profitable, because some of the clients, when they do come to us, their costs are way out of control. And even aside, caveat, there's always the opportunity to negotiate with your suppliers. That's never off the table. I think there's that the opportunity to get better pricing from suppliers to help mitigate some of these fees, using better shipping, better freight forwarders, that can also help. mitigate your margins and get that down as well.
Okay, one question, guys. No, sorry, Jamie. No, because
that's all right.
just to add something, and because the last time we chatted with Jamie, and this new placement fees, they're only for the States, which means that in Europe you don't pay those, right? Okay,
That's right.
so now is the perfect time to actually go to Europe. I've been joking that, exactly, that people are willing to spend like 10K on vacation in Europe, but they're not willing to spend like 10K to expand to Europe. So guys, here's your opportunity. USA is still a big market, but still, I mean, Europe is even bigger. If you look at the numbers. So.
If I can say this, our biggest client is doing north of 120 million a year. And all of those sales are in Europe and UK.
Wow, that's awesome.
They're only just dipping their feet into the US now. We're helping them transfer into that. And the reason why I say that is, and I guess the reason why they are coming to us is I've spent the last 4 months with their supply chain managers, and they're a big company, all Amazon. And they've got 3PLs, their own 3PLs, not outsourced, their own, 2 in UK and 1 in Romania. And they feed Europe through the UK and Romania and their whole operations through that. So I've done a feasibility study with their whole operation, and we're about 35% cheaper if they were to shut those facilities and go back to China with us.
Wow,
so
awesome.
They're doing a big it's a big deal for us, and that's something that we're just working on in the background. But it's just interesting that we work with someone who's doing their first product, and we work with these big organizations that have got, doing crazy numbers on the platform. So I think something Mark said was really important. When you talk about packaging, carton dimensions, freight forwarders, HS codes, all the 1%ers, whenever I talk to a seller, and you're the same, Mark, you can pick the brains out of someone who's, not quite savvy, and it's no one's fault. They're just they haven't been in the business long enough to have a look at the things that we see. I can see red flags in someone's business straight away.
Yeah.
And you're probably the same. Like
there's just so many moving parts, right? It's not like, you follow this checklist. There's just all these moving parts, which you really have to pay attention to if you want to be the most profitable as possible.
And it's not their fault.
No,
it's not their fault. It's just that there's things that they're not educated in the business. So I'm sure SellerView, myself, you jump on a call with these people, there's instant savings, and they're talking about the 30 or 40 cent fee being the end of the world. But I can see huge upside in other parts of their business that you like. How can you be? I've talked to sellers, they're manufacturing in China, sending to the UK because they think they're optimizing using full containers, then sending to the US. Like, just crazy stuff. VAT here, then here. The still origin of the product's China, getting tariffs.
Yeah, and I can pretty much guarantee none of those costs are getting put in their cost per units. So they're getting put down on the P&L somewhere, and COGS are coming through. Looks pretty glorious, but when you roll that back up, it's just a mess.
One question for you guys now, with your SellerView with SkillDrop, how does an audit with you guys work? Do you have a software where the seller can just connect to your software and you can do an audit, and how quickly they can get an overview of what they're doing wrong?
Yeah, look, we've got a YouTube channel, so you can check that out. That's probably the best place to start because we've got a knowledge base there. You can reach out to me, jamie@skewdrop.com. Happy to jump on calls with people as well to do demos. And to answer your question, Nick, yes, we do have a software that we've built ourselves, which is warehouse management based. So you can log in, see in real time what's in storage in our facility. You can create shipping plans in our system. You can ship with your own freight forwarders. You can ship with our freight forwarders. You can ship with whoever you want. You can ship with AGL. We're an open book. A lot of our clients want to use our facility, but they might have a shipping contract with a shipping line, some of our bigger clients, or they might want to use AGL. It just depends. For us, our strength is our consolidation, prep, and storage facility, all wrapped around software in real time. We can integrate with Seller Central so you can see all your SKUs. You can bring in what you want or what you don't want. You can send direct to Amazon what you want. What you don't want can come to us. There's a multitude of things that you can do where we feel like we've got a really strong, flexible position in the market to make choices before you can make decisions. And staying in China has its benefits, you know. One of the benefits, like the reason why we started this business is our business partners. There's 6 co-founders. 2 of them are actually Chinese. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to operate without Chinese business partners because you just can't operate in China. There's no Chinese sellers that use AWD. There's no Chinese sellers that use US 3PL. They've got their own facilities in China. They see what they sell, and they run their businesses from China. So we saw that model early days, and we wanted to implement that for us. And the other co-founders are all sellers. We're going to get our own facility in China just for our businesses and do this model. And then when we started doing the numbers and seeing the flexibility that we had, the options that we had, we built the whole thing. You know, we've built inbound products to SKU drops like Amazon. You've got to create a shipping plan to us through our software. You get labels. We scan them in. We've got staff that scan in. It's a sophisticated operation. The warehouse is only 3 years old. It's not a backward China, dust bowl somewhere, in the back streets. This is a sophisticated operation. Our pallets are all barcoded. We put them away, and we know exactly where your SKUs are. Whenever you create an order, we know exactly where they are. We've got a 24-hour pick, label, load guarantee. That's unheard of in the industry. As soon as you put an order in, within 24 hours, we pick it, we label it with the FBI IDs, and they're gone. We're in a unique position where we've got 800 brands storing Amazon-ready products under the one roof in China. That gives you a lot of options as far as shipping, bookings, utilization, consolidation, all those kind of things. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to be part of.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay,
I mean, I think
then,
that's
Mark,
necessity.
Mark, and tell us on your end. I mean, let's say I'm a seller now. I have no idea, or I think I have an idea what I'm doing now. How quickly, what you guys do to tell me, okay, what is wrong on my end, with my fees, costs, and everything.
Is that a quick? Sorry, repeat the question.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys have like a software? I mean, do you connect to the Amazon account now? How do you understand now what needs to be fixed with my cost? I mean, what I'm not considering, with Severly.
So what we do with our clients is we work a lot with our bookkeepers and accountants. Some of our high-level sellers. Initially, what we'll do is we'll go back, 12 to 18 months, kind of fix their accounting, fix their COGS, especially the sellers that are looking to sell. When your buyer's coming in to look at what they're buying on the inventory level, they want to know, are these cost per units what they are? So our goal is to kind of control, create a transparent way for sellers and buyers to kind of connect on the cost per unit level. And then for sellers looking to, obviously maintain profitability, maintain their supply chain, and make sure there are, their cost per units are as lean as possible. What we do then is kind of go through their COGS, look at their invoices, look at their supply chain, possibly make recommendations on whether they could probably negotiate a little bit more on their factory invoices to get those costs down. And then, we'll probably be chatting with Jamie here about how to get the shipping down. Because a lot of our sellers, they use one freight forwarder for years and years and years. They've never really thought about possibly getting another quote. And, then the other quote drops, the cost per unit down another 15 cents. Or so, we kind of help strategize their kind of costs on their supply chain. And the way, do that is just, I hop on a call with most of our clients and we just kind of hash it out and see where they are. So the best way to do that is just sellerview.com, book a demo, and we can set up a time to chat.
Okay, thanks, Mark. We're not starting with the questions. I have another question for me, and the next one for you is because you work with e-commerce accountants, how often do you see e-commerce accountants, or let's say accountants who don't know their numbers on Amazon? How often does this happen?
Well, so that is an interesting question. Costs, I wouldn't say, are the most appealing for sellers to go. I wake up one day and I'm going to build a spreadsheet and I'm going to put all my costs in. So I think the elephant in the room is I think the accountants and the bookkeepers know that the cost per units are wrong. And the sellers, by no fault on their own, typically will go, oh, my factory cost is $1 and my average shipping is $1. My cost per unit is $2. Possibly not factoring in any customs, some of the 25%, some products have 0 tariffs, some have 25 tariffs, but we'll just push that, customs to the side, and they'll just go ahead and sell the bookkeeper out. My cost per unit is $2. That go into, if they're using A2X, and then it just kind of rolls that way. So I would say costs are the elephant in the room for both seller and both accountant, because I think they both know that they're wrong.
Okay, that's not good. But are they doing something about that? Because if they know they're wrong and do nothing,
man, we work. I mean, I love the conversations with the bookkeepers and accountants, because really we remove that whole, as a seller, I remember, my accountant, hey, do you have your end of month cost per units? And I would be scrambling with the Excel spreadsheets, and then I'd send that off to them, and then, the cycle would continue. Where now with the bookkeepers and sellers, everything, the cost per units are always 100% updated. Every single invoice can be split and assigned to any SKU. You can include, exclude any cost you want, because a lot of times when you're looking at costs, there's recurring costs and then there's one-time costs. Them all cost, product testing. Sometimes there's things on the invoice that you really shouldn't be part of your cost of goods sold, but a seller, might not take the time to kind of split them out. So you might think that your cost is $3 or something. Your net profit doesn't look amazing, but when you take out these certain costs over time, your cost might be $2. All of a sudden, your margin looks really good. Your P&L looks a lot better. And especially for a seller who's selling, all of a sudden my valuation's gone right up because I've added a whole bunch of zeros to my P&L. So back to your point is, with the app, everything is updated on the catalog page on your cost per unit, and that actually automatically pushes to Google Sheet, which syncs to A2X. So every time a cost is updated, push to a Google Sheet, A2X picks it up, and it's just an effortless flow of cost per units in.
Yeah, but by the way, I know a cheaper alternative to A2X, Link My Books. By the way, I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I committed with you guys. So I mean, guys, there is a lot of tools, but let's start with the questions, because we have some very good questions for people who could not attend, because we're kind of early for the US peeps, even the European peeps. So we're gonna start with the first one. So this is the question both of you guys can answer. So the question is, can you get around not paying inventory replacement fees shipping from China? I guess.
Unless you go to AWD, right?
AWD is the only way that you cannot pay inventory placement fees. Even using AGL from China with the AMP program, it's a baked-in rate, and it comes back to my point about how many units in the shipment is going to play a big part. I do a presentation on this. I can't do it right now, but you can very much see when you opt in for AGL's shipping options, how much the AMP program is and how much minimal shipment split option is from AGL. They've got two. So, for example, just so people can understand, at the moment, this month, a 40-foot high cube with AGL is $8,600. Now, you can put 1 unit in there or 1 million units in there. You're not going to pay any inventory placement fees. They're going to spread it around for you. But there's a threshold and a crossover from when you can go to paying your fees with AGL's minimum shipment splits, which is a container price of $5,400 this month. But when you add the fees up, does it go over AMP or not? Does it go over 8,600 or not? That will depend on how many units are in the container. So just to be clear, AMP is a set rate. So if you've got small products and you're doing LCL or FCL shipments, you can put as many units as you can in that container. You're only going to pay 8,600. So that's a good deal for some of these big businesses that we're talking to at the moment who can send all their products from China to our warehouse, build a container with 25, 30,000 units, send it direct to Amazon and not pay one fee on top of that 8,600 container price. It's killer, right? It's an amazing offer. That's the only thing outside AWD. And then that's a whole nother discussion, obviously.
Okay, guys. So let's go to the next question. Cash flow. So how is cash flow increased storing your inventory in China and drip feeding Amazon directly? I think you explained that, but just like a short summary again.
Cash flow's increased because when you think about it, at the moment, sellers have to order 3 or 4 months worth of stock. They have to pay for that, and then it goes over to a US 3PL, and that's 3 or 4 months that they have to spend drip feeding that into Amazon. So they're sitting on that cash.
Yeah,
in China, you don't have to do that. You don't have to order 3 or 4 months of stock.
You shorten that cash flow, that whole cash flow conversion cycle. That thing is just way more narrow.
Hey, I'm still going to order the same amount, guys. Don't stress. But just when you've got a month's worth ready for me, send it over. You pay for that. Then it goes into the next month manufacturing. Then the next month manufacturing. So you're not having to sit on all this cash.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I think it's also, there's always opportunity, and I think if sellers spoke to their suppliers a little bit more, we had one supplier. I mean, one seller approached their supplier and said, "Listen, how about I do some kind of recurring order with you, where every month I place a small order and expect this for the next 12 months." And the supplier loved the idea, because it's recurring cash for them. They would just make 1,000 units, send them off. Make 1,000 users, send them off. And
it's what the Chinese do too, Mark.
Yeah, it was just a recurring buy, and cash flow through the roof.
It actually takes the pressure off the supplier too, Nick. Because I used to go to the warehouse, I've been to China over 10, 12 times, right? When I used to go to see my suppliers, I'd order 3 45-foot containers. Now, when I walked into the suppliers to the warehouse, we couldn't move because they've got 3 45-foot worth of gear that I've just ordered, all waiting to go out in this one PO. Now, it occurred to me, I could have had some of this on the water. Why did I have to wait for the whole order, the whole PO to be ready? And I was like, man, I walked in, I was like, we can't move in here. I could have sent half a container or a container a month ago, but they're like preparing my whole order. You know what I mean? So it's a different way of thinking. And I'll say this, I say this often, and I'll say it for a reason. Gone are the days where you think that you're optimizing by filling a 40-foot container. The reason why I say gone are the days, it's a pretty stupid thing to say, right? Is people still going to send 40-foot containers to the US or wherever? But what my thinking is now for an Amazon seller, we used to think optimize space, optimize shipping, do my PO to that 68 CBM, a 40-foot high cube, fill up 68 CBM. Now, sending a 40-foot container, yes, back in the day, had its benefits, but there's implications now at the other end that you didn't have before. One is inventory placement fees. 2 is you can't always send everything into AWD to reduce it. So how can you get around it? You can send from China. You can break it up. It's going to be cheaper than what you think if you compare apples, with the whole supply chain now introducing inventory placement fees. There's ramifications for the first time. When you think you're optimizing by, hey, I send a 40-foot container, I get 68 CBM, and I send it to the US, and I pay $6,000. I'm all in, and I'm in the US. I'm all in. Okay, now what? Now what are you paying? You're paying unloading, $400, $500, $600 to unload it. Their storage rates. Now you're paying shipping like into Amazon, last mile, SPD, LTL, and now you're paying inventory placement fee. You got to add that too.
It's all got to be added.
Okay, I think you kind of answered the next question that we have, but Mark can chip in as well. So, what strategies do you see to optimize the product profit? I guess we discussed that. One thing that we discussed in my last scale webinar was about the sourcing. Like I said, I mean, and if this is true, I mean that's crazy. If people are not negotiating with their suppliers, because what I used to when I was running my e-commerce business is whenever we made a bigger order, I was always negotiating, for a better rate. And I always had calls from different guys. And what you guys mentioned is something that they didn't use for the sourcing, but we use it for when we were buying cuts. Whenever we're buying cuts from an agency, we're telling them, okay, right now we're spending like 1 million, 2 million. We're planning to spend 10 million. How much are you what price can you give us if we're spending 10 million? So we're not doing it yet, but we're telling them, what if we do that? Can we get this kind of pricing? So we even have some benchmarks. So we hit this usage, we get this price. So I think with the sourcing partners, they can kind of negotiate like a future pricing. And when you said the recurring orders, I mean they can cut their costs down because the supplier will be happy because they kind of guarantee. Even nobody can guarantee that, but still, they're gonna be happy to make that much money, etc. So
it creates, I think, stability for the supplier too. They know that you're going to be ordering for the next 12 months. They know that you're going to be ordering X amount of units. They can plan on their supplies and their materials to get in. So I think it's a win for both, especially being able to ebb and flow a little bit here, where you got to make adaptable moves to be profitable now in the game.
Okay, guys. So
Chinese suppliers, they want business too, Nick. They need business at the moment. They're feeling the pinch too. So a lot of these Chinese suppliers, they'll work with you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, that's what I've seen it a lot in the States. I mean, I didn't have any issues with Europe because my supplier was in the UK. It was very quickly. I mean, we didn't use what you guys were doing. We didn't need to. But, whenever we need actually more stock, we just order it to our support in the UK and we got it delivered here in Europe. I mean, the middle of Europe. So, but it's Europe. I mean, it's much closer. So, of course, you cannot do that right now. But I have actually a very good question for you, which is the next one. How long does it take to ship goods directly into Amazon fulfillment centers from your warehouse? So that's for you, Jamie. And how often do sellers send their goods? So
that's a good question. And it is usually between 38 and 45 days. At the moment, we're seeing 38 days from the moment you create a shipping plan into Amazon, which is extremely fast from China. Because there's not much happening on the water at the moment. So we haven't had any holdbacks. We've never missed a deadline. We've got tracking in our software too. We don't have just sea tracking. We've got land tracking too. So you see it go across the sea. And when it hits LA, then you see it go into the FBA center as well. So that's, you don't have to switch platforms for tracking for the last mile delivery. How often do they send their goods? It varies. Some people are doing weekly shipments. It's like the supermarket model. What they sell for the week, they put on the water for the week. And they've got this rhythm happening. I sell 300 units. They probably add 10%, if that. And they just keep that happening on the water. We've got express. We've got air freight. We've got medium services. We've got Matson services. We've got all sorts of services. So, yeah, that's why, it can vary. Weekly, every 2 weeks. Some people do it every month. It changes. It varies.
Okay. Thanks, Jamie. And the next question I think is for you and also for Mark. Let me just show that. What steps do you take to manage product costs and minimize expense? I think we've been talking about that over today. But anything that we didn't mention, like sourcing, so what else you're seeing that sellers are overseeing, overlooking, I guess.
I think in general. I think in general, it's shipping. I think it's making better choices on shipping. Coming back to what we've discussed the whole time is negotiating better prices, acknowledging the fees. But at the end of the day, there's nothing really that you can do about the fees. You just got to look at different ways to, enhance your supply chain.
Okay. One question from you. Let's say logistics. So, what have you guys, especially you, Jamie? Let's say a seller comes to how much can you increase their profitability if they start using you guys, or how much are some guys overcharging in a way? Because people usually pay they're gonna pay anything if they don't know that there is an alternative.
Some of our big clients that do 5 to 10 containers a month, they are saving $10,000 a container. $10,000 a container times 10 is $100,000 a month using AMP program with high density container volumes. Meaning, if they're sending 10, 15, 20,000 units direct into Amazon using AGL 40 footer, they do not pay more than $8,600 all in.
That's wild. That's awesome.
It's crazy. And that's 10 containers a month. And that goes the same, that flows all the way down. The same numbers flow all the way down percentage wise, all the way down to someone sending 1 CBM with an LCL. It's the same. It comes down to low and high density now. Those terms need to be used a lot more because this is a per unit fee. Are you sending high amounts of units or low amounts of units? Not volume, units. It's got to be discussed because that's where you win. That's where you win. My CBM, 1 meter by 1 meter, might have 8 units in it. Your CBM, Nick, 1 meter by 1 meter, might have 800 units in it. It's the same. It's 1 CBM. But my fees on 8 units was $1.20 a unit. So I've paid $8 in inventory placement fees. You've got 800 units on that pallet. You've paid 20 cents per whatever it is. And now you've paid $1,600 in fees.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
what do you do?
From what you're telling me, I have the feeling that it's a lot of sellers don't know what exactly they're doing, or they don't know how to optimize it. So optimization is the key here. I mean, so
I saw a post from someone this week. I won't mention his name, and this year he cracked his first 20 million on Amazon. The first comment on his post in LinkedIn, someone asked him, "What do you put down the success to?" Do you know what he said? I have 3 or 4 absolute supply chain nerds that work for me.
Yeah.
That's it. Because that's the biggest chunk of our business, the biggest amount of money that goes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you mentioned it because when I was running my business, I had like 50 employees. We hit like 25 million in the peak. In Europe, we always had issues with logistics. Even though we never sourced from China, we never managed to find like a quality like delivery company because I was doing cash on delivery. So we only get paid one the delivery get paid. So we never managed to find like a partner, which was working very well. So this was the main issue, Do
you know what the issue is, Nick? This is the issue. We've got mums and dads, corporates, different people from different backgrounds wanting to do something like, let's say the side hustle Amazon. It's not a side hustle, it's a business, right? But they come in and it's not their fault, like we said before, but supply chain is like a university degree. If you work for Toyota, or if you work for, a big multinational company or multi-international company and you're their supply chain manager, you have to go to college for that. Now we've got mums and dads who have to work out inventory placement and inventory management and supply chain. It's crazy. How are they supposed to know? They don't know. And so all this money is getting poured out. And unfortunately, there's nowhere for them to go to learn this stuff. You can go to Sellerview. This is the first time I've ever heard of Sellerview. And they could break it down for you, recommend. If you don't have someone like that, you're just throwing cash away. But then you know what the thing is? The most popular webinars you'll do are on PPC.
Exactly. I mean, because actually, you're just reading my mind now. Yeah, people never care about I call them the unsexy topics like taxes, like logistics, like supply chain. They only care about how I'm gonna make some money.
How am I gonna rank?
Exactly.
If you do a rank. Nick, if you do a ranking webinar, it's all over. It's just people are going to come from everywhere because it's all about ranking.
Yeah, that's what I'm joking now because everybody's talking about sales and revenue. Yeah, sales and revenue. Tell them,
I think it's the unsexy. I think like chatting. It's the unsexy topics. Supply chain optimization, shipping, freight, costs. It's all those unsexy things that create the profitability in the business.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's daunting. Like it's hard to know. It's you don't know where to go to learn this stuff. You know what I mean? It's pretty hard for someone to learn about shipping and customs and HS codes and import of records and custom clearance and all this sort of stuff, and VOCCs and freight forwarders, and it's pretty daunting, right?
Yeah.
I talk to people, they don't want to know about it. You just do it. You just do it. You just do it.
Well, also I think it's also the marketing, right? Because I always hear, well, I don't, my costs are this and that. I'll just make it up in the velocity. I'll just sell more.
Yeah.
I'll rank up my marketing. I'll do better, ranking, and get more boxes out there. And at the same time, I'm like, well, what if you did that and you were more profitable?
Exactly.
Yeah. Profitability, because a lot of times people are telling me, okay, but Europe is small, and I tell them, okay, you guys do 10 million, whatever, 1 million in the States. If you go to Europe, you're gonna add 30-40% of what you do, okay, but that's not that much, okay. But here is the catch, in Europe, Europe has the highest average order value. You're gonna have more profit. So even if the market is smaller, we spoke with some guy who was doing they had a 30% profit margin, 30 in Europe. So
yeah.
So obviously, like I said, people are going for the sexy. USA is a big market. I'm selling in the USA to 10 millions revenue. Okay, how much is your profit? I don't know. My wife, she doesn't care. She doesn't ask me, okay, Nick, how much revenue did you generate then? She asks, okay, how much is your profit?
See, she's savvy.
Mark said something earlier that was true. And this is why we got enticed to the FBA model. When you think back, right, 5-6 years ago, you could order 1,000, 2,000 units and just send it into Amazon, never see it, and they just took care of everything. Then all of a sudden, tariffs. I've got to start thinking about supply chain. Where am I sourcing from? No, HS codes. Then 3PLs. We had inventory level restrictions. So now you couldn't send as much as you want in. You had limits. So inventory limits. Then there was the introduction of 3PLs, the big introduction of outsourcing your supply chain and drip feeding into Amazon. That was the second killer blow. It was tariffs, 3PL, and now inventory placement fees. It's the three-prong attack over the last 5 to 6 years that have gone from a mum and papa being able to just get a container, send it into Amazon, and just look at the app, right? And don't worry about it.
Yep.
So now have to be supply chain experts. You have to be.
You got it. It's
changed.
the only way to be profitable.
It's changed.
Yeah, we're scared all the guys who want to start selling this year, but no worries, guys.
Well,
we supply to Europe. We send to Europe. We send to UK. We send to Canada. We send to Australia. We send everywhere. So you can keep your goods under one roof and you can send it to all marketplaces. It's pretty cool.
Okay, Mark, some ending from you because we're almost done. So what would you say? Know your numbers. Profit is what the wives and girlfriends care about.
Well, I would say don't be afraid of selling on Amazon. It's still amazing. It's still create an amazing business, travel the world, but you got to know your numbers. You absolutely have to know your numbers to be as profitable as possible. I don't, for me, I would rather keep my money in my bank, ready to go, than, give it away to, maybe the supplier, maybe the freight forwarder, all these little things where I can keep as much money as I can. I can take that money, I can reinvest it, put it into more products, and repeat the cycle. But if you're leaving money on the table, it's just going to be harder to grow.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so thanks, guys. Everybody just keep in mind that these are just 2 of the guys that I know. I know 1,500 guys, and some of them are also taking care of profitability. So get on scale. You can meet anybody. See, I was assuming that Mark and Jamie knew each other because they do very cool complementary stuff, but they didn't know each other. So that's why meet people. You have no idea what would happen. Sometimes you can grow a business. Sometimes you can grow a few businesses like I did with the Parship stuff. So keep on connecting with people. There is a lot of valuable content. So, but if you're lazy, it's not going to work out. You need to spend even 1 hour watching what we share, when Jamie and Mark shared today. So, guys, thanks for joining today. And get in touch with Jamie and Mark.
Thanks for what you do too, Nick. You're amazing, mate. I don't know too many people that have got that sort of like bandwidth to connect people. It's amazing what you do. So congrats, man.
It's easy, man.
appreciate
We have a software for that. It was hard before we built the software.
Yeah, but you're always on LinkedIn. You're always on WhatsApp. I can't keep up with it, man.
Yeah, man.
You're like you're a machine.
Only 4 days. Yeah, only 4 days per week.
Okay,
You know,
4
4
days a
days a week. That's it.
No, I appreciate the time, man. Appreciate it. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jamie.
I'll be in
Thanks,
touch.
Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Cheers.